Evan walked through the bustling trading hub with a careful step. The station was alive with the sounds of countless species from across the galaxy. Mechanical voices called out deals in languages he could barely recognize, alien scents mingled with the faint smell of engine oil, and holographic advertisements flashed overhead, promoting everything from plasma tools to luxury starships. Humans were still a minority here, often overlooked and underestimated, and Evan knew it. He had learned long ago that the galaxy did not favor those without wealth or influence. He carried his small crate of rare minerals, hoping for a few credits that would last him until the next shipment arrived. Life as a trader was never easy, and he had become accustomed to the constant risk and uncertainty. Every deal was a test of wit, every negotiation a dance on a knife's edge. Still, he kept his head high. He believed that if he could just find the right opportunity, things could change. Evan's eyes scanned the crowd, noticing the usual mix of species. Towering insectoids with sharp mandibles, floating jelly-like beings that shimmered in the artificial light, and armored soldiers moving purposefully between stalls. He kept to the edges, avoiding the more aggressive vendors who would not hesitate to push him aside. That was when he saw her. She moved through the crowd with a grace that seemed almost unnatural. Her presence was magnetic, heads turned as she passed, not out of fear but out of awe. She was tall and slender with a commanding figure. Her skin had a subtle metallic sheen, catching the light in a way that made her appear radiant. Her eyes were deep and knowing, almost as if she could see straight into the thoughts of anyone who looked at her. This was no ordinary alien. She was the kind of being whose reputation preceded her, the billionaire woman known across the galaxy for her wealth, power, and influence. Few had ever spoken to her, and fewer still had survived an encounter without being overwhelmed by her authority. Evan's heart quickened. He had heard stories about her generosity and her ruthlessness. She was known to reward those who showed promise, but she was equally capable of discarding anyone who failed to impress her. The thought of speaking with her filled him with both excitement and dread. Without warning, she stopped in front of him. Her gaze met his, and for a moment, time seemed to slow. Evan felt as if she had read every worry, every doubt, every hope he had carried into the station that day. Then she smiled, a small, enigmatic smile that seemed to hold secrets he could not hope to understand. "You," she said, her voice melodic but firm, "you have the look of someone who understands opportunity when it finds them." He had expected to be ignored, or at most to be brushed aside, but here she was, speaking directly to him. He nodded, unsure if he should say something, but she did not wait for a response. She reached into a small bag at her side and pulled out a thin, holographic card. The card shimmered in the light, displaying complex symbols and numbers that made Evan's head spin. She handed it to him without a word. "A tip," she said simply, and then she turned and walked away, moving with the same effortless elegance as she had when she arrived. Evan stared at the card, his mind racing. He had no idea what the symbols meant, but instinct told him this was not ordinary. The tip seemed valuable, perhaps even life-changing. But the question that burned in his mind was simple. Why him? Why would someone of such immense power and influence give a human like him a tip? He looked down at his hand and realized he was holding something else. A small, folded note that he hadn't noticed before. It was tucked neatly inside the card, almost as if she had wanted him to find it without realizing it at first. His fingers trembled as he unfolded the paper. The writing was precise and deliberate, the kind of script that made each letter feel important. The note contained coordinates, a map, and a cryptic warning. "Not everything is as it seems. Watch carefully. Some are watching you. Trust your instincts." He had expected a simple tip about a profitable trade or a market opportunity, but this was something entirely different. It hinted at danger, intrigue, and secrets beyond anything he had ever encountered. He knew that following these instructions could change his life, but it could also put him at risk. For a long moment, he simply stood there, staring at the note. The crowd moved around him, oblivious to the storm of thoughts in his mind. Then, a calm determination settled over him. He had always known that life would demand risks if he wanted more than survival. And now, the opportunity had arrived, disguised in mystery and challenge. Evan carefully folded the note and slipped it into his pocket. He tucked the holographic card under his arm and made his way back to his small quarters on the station. Each step was measured, careful, as though he could already feel the weight of the choices ahead. He thought about the billionaire woman, her presence, her smile, the way she seemed to see right through him. There was a strange intensity in her eyes, an unspoken understanding that he had been chosen for a reason. Once inside his quarters, Evan spread out the card and the note on his work table. He studied the symbols on the card, trying to make sense of them. They seemed to describe a complex trade route, a series of investments, and details about a rare mineral deposit on a distant planet. The potential profits were enormous, far beyond what any human trader had seen before. But it wasn't just about the money. The note hinted at something hidden, something that could give him knowledge or power that other humans could only dream of. Hours passed as Evan worked through the calculations and studied the maps. He cross-referenced the coordinates with his star charts and discovered that the location was remote, almost untouched. It was a place that few aliens had explored and even fewer humans. The note's warning echoed in his mind. Someone or something was watching, but Evan felt a spark of excitement. For the first time in years, he felt the thrill of a true adventure. He realized that to follow the tip meant leaving the safety of the station, venturing into unknown space, and confronting dangers he could not yet imagine. But that was exactly what made it irresistible. Evan had always believed that humans had a way of surviving where others might fail, using ingenuity, creativity, and determination. Perhaps this was the moment to prove it, not just to the billionaire woman, but to the galaxy itself. Evan packed his gear carefully. He included essentials, navigation tools, survival equipment, a few personal items, and his most trusted weapons, just in case. Every movement was deliberate, every choice measured. He could not afford mistakes. He glanced at the note one last time. Its cryptic message was simple, but its meaning was profound. He had to trust himself. The next morning, Evan boarded his small ship, a vessel that had carried him through countless trades and minor skirmishes. The station's docking bay was busy, but he moved with purpose, ignoring curious glances and murmurs. The billionaire woman had already vanished from the public eye, her presence here now just a memory, but her influence lingered in the tip and the note she had given him. As he initiated the launch sequence, Evan took a deep breath. The stars stretched out before him, vast and indifferent. He felt a surge of anticipation, a mixture of fear and exhilaration. This was the moment when ordinary life ended and something extraordinary began. He set a course for the coordinates on the note, unaware of what lay ahead, but determined to meet it head-on. The ship lifted from the station with a soft hum, gliding smoothly into space. The station receded behind him, a hive of activity that no longer belonged to his world. Ahead, the unknown awaited, vast, beautiful, and dangerous. Every instinct told him that this journey would change everything, and deep down, he knew it would. Evan leaned back in his seat, eyes fixed on the stars, and allowed himself a small, private smile. He had always wondered what it would be like to step beyond the boundaries set for humans. Now he was doing it. He had been given a gift, an opportunity wrapped in mystery and challenge. And whether it led to fortune, danger, or something beyond imagination, he was ready to face it. As the stars streaked past his window and the hum of the ship's engines filled the cabin, Evan felt the first real thrill of hope in years. The galaxy was vast, full of wonders and threats alike, but he was no longer just a human trying to survive. He was a human stepping into a game whose rules he was only beginning to understand, and for the first time he felt like he had a chance to win. And somewhere, watching from a distance, the billionaire woman smiled again, knowing that the first move had been made. Evan's ship cut through the darkness of space, leaving the trading station far behind. The stars stretched out like scattered jewels, silent witnesses to his journey. The coordinates from the billionaire woman's note glowed faintly on his navigation screen. He had double-checked them countless times, but they seemed precise, deliberate. It was more than a tip. It felt like a challenge, a test, and he couldn't resist. The tip had promised immense wealth, rare resources, and a chance to prove himself. But the hidden note had added a layer of mystery that made the voyage far more dangerous and far more thrilling. Evan ran his hands over the console, making minor adjustments to the ship's course. He felt a surge of excitement mixed with unease. Someone or something was watching him. He didn't know who or why, but the warning from the note kept echoing in his mind. Hours passed in tense silence, broken only by the hum of the engines and the occasional blip on the sensors. Evan reviewed the information again. The alien symbols on the holographic card were complex, detailing trade routes and resource locations. The coordinates pointed to a planet that, according to the star charts, was almost untouched. Few aliens had dared to venture there, and even fewer humans. The opportunity was enormous, but the risks were even greater. Evan leaned back in his chair, staring at the stars. He thought about the billionaire woman. Why had she chosen him? She could have given this tip to any of the powerful alien traders in the galaxy, yet she had found him, a human with limited resources, barely scraping by. Was it luck, or did she see something unique in him? He shook his head. The answer didn't matter. What mattered was the choice in front of him, to take the risk or to turn back. He reached for the note again, unfolding it carefully. The words were simple, but their meaning was layered. Not everything is as it seems. Watch carefully. Some are watching you. Trust your instincts. Evan read the message over and over, each time feeling a chill run down his spine. There was a subtle warning hidden in the phrasing, a sense of urgency that he couldn't ignore. Whoever was watching, they were waiting for him to act. The planet's surface slowly came into view, a swirling mix of orange and green hues, indicating a rocky terrain dotted with strange alien flora. It was breathtaking and intimidating all at once. Evan's fingers tightened around the controls as he guided his ship into orbit. According to the tip, the resource mine was located in a remote valley, far from any established settlement. The challenge was not only to find it, but to navigate the treacherous terrain and avoid drawing attention. Evan initiated the landing sequence, feeling the ship tremble slightly as it entered the planet's atmosphere. The air shimmered with heat and particles from the storms above, creating a natural barrier against intruders. The ship's sensors picked up faint energy readings, but they were irregular and unpredictable. The tip had been accurate about everything so far, but Evan knew the real test was only beginning. He guided the ship toward the valley, using the holographic map from the note as a reference. The terrain grew rougher with each passing mile, jagged cliffs and alien trees rising like guardians around him. He had to maneuver carefully, avoiding natural obstacles while keeping an eye on the energy signatures the sensors detected. Each movement required precision, patience, and quick thinking. One mistake could destroy the ship or alert someone or something watching him. Finally, Evan found a clearing suitable for landing. The valley opened before him like a secret waiting to be discovered. He touched down gently, the engines lowering to a soft hum. Stepping out of the ship, he was greeted by an alien landscape unlike anything he had ever seen. The air was thick with the scent of minerals and vegetation. Strange plants with translucent leaves glowed faintly under the planet's twin suns. Rocks shimmered with embedded crystals, and the ground pulsed slightly, as if the planet itself were alive. Evan paused to take it all in. The beauty of the place was breathtaking, but he couldn't afford to linger. According to the tip, the resource mine was nearby, hidden beneath the surface in a series of caverns. He pulled the note from his pocket and compared it to the terrain around him. The directions were clear, but they required him to interpret the map carefully. One wrong turn could lead to dead ends, or worse. As he began walking toward the coordinates, Evan noticed subtle signs that he was not alone. Footprints in the soft soil did not match any human patterns. Small devices, partially buried in the dirt, emitted faint pulses of light. Someone, or something, had been here recently. His pulse quickened, but he reminded himself to stay calm. Panic would make mistakes inevitable. He focused on his instincts, just as the note had instructed. Evan moved cautiously, using the natural cover of rocks and plants. The valley was beautiful but deceptive. Shadows shifted unnaturally, and the wind carried sounds that seemed almost like whispers. He reminded himself that the billionaire woman had warned him. Not everything was as it seemed. He had to watch carefully, trust his instincts, and stay one step ahead. Hours passed as he navigated the rugged terrain. Evan encountered natural obstacles, steep cliffs, sudden drops, and alien creatures that watched him curiously but did not attack. His training as a trader and explorer had prepared him for difficult environments, but this was different. The combination of natural danger and the hidden watchers made every step a calculated risk. Eventually, he arrived at the entrance to the mine. It was partially concealed by rocks and alien foliage, nearly invisible from above. The energy readings from his sensors spiked, indicating the presence of machinery or technology. Evan approached cautiously, scanning the area for any signs of traps or surveillance. Every instinct screamed that he was being tested. Inside the mine, the air was cool and dry. The walls shimmered faintly, embedded with veins of precious minerals. Evan moved quietly, careful not to disturb the environment. The tip had been accurate. The mine contained resources far beyond anything he had ever encountered. Crystals that glowed faintly with stored energy lined the walls, and machines hummed softly, processing the minerals automatically. Evan marveled at the technology. It was advanced, clearly alien, and far beyond human capabilities. Yet the note had been clear. He could access it, but he had to be careful. Someone or something was watching, waiting to see how he would handle this opportunity. He examined the machines, trying to understand their function. Some were automated miners extracting resources with precision. Others processed the materials, converting them into forms that could be transported or used in energy production. Evan realized that if he could figure out how to operate the technology, he could gain an advantage no human had ever had. As he worked, he felt a sudden shift in the air. The faint hum of the machines seemed to grow louder, more deliberate. Evan froze, listening carefully. It was not the machines, it was something else. He turned slowly and saw a figure watching him from a shadowed corner. The alien was tall and cloaked, its features obscured by a helmet that reflected the light of the crystals. It did not move, did not speak, but Evan could feel its gaze. He remembered the note, "Some are watching you." He had anticipated danger, but this was more immediate than he had expected. Evan stayed calm, speaking softly, "I mean no harm, I only wish to use the tip that was given to me." He had no way of knowing. He decided to proceed carefully, taking only what he needed and avoiding unnecessary interaction. Every movement was measured, every step deliberate. Hours passed, and Evan collected samples, documented the machinery, and began to understand the potential of the mine. The wealth and technology were extraordinary, but he also realized that the true value lay in the knowledge he was gaining. Humans had been underestimated across the galaxy, but here, in this hidden place, he could prove that human ingenuity and adaptability were unmatched. As he prepared to leave the mine, Evan took one last look at the holographic note. The billionaire woman's handwriting, precise and deliberate, seemed to glow faintly in his memory. She had trusted him with this opportunity, and he had honored it. But the warning remained. Someone or something was still watching. He knew that the journey was far from over. Evan climbed back into his ship, carefully storing the samples and the data he had collected. The ship lifted from the planet's surface, and he set a course back toward the trading station. The journey home would not be easy. The Watchers could be anywhere, and the knowledge he now carried made him a target. But Evan felt a sense of determination stronger than fear. He had taken the first step, faced the unknown, and survived. As he traveled through the stars, he thought about what he had learned. The tip had been more than a guide to wealth. It had been a test of courage, intelligence, and human ingenuity. The note had been a warning, but it had also been a challenge, a chance to prove that humans were capable of more than the galaxy had ever expected. Evan leaned back in his seat, eyes fixed on the stars ahead. The journey was only beginning. He did not yet know the full extent of the challenges that awaited him, but he was ready. Whatever came next, he would face it with the same determination, creativity, and courage that had brought him this far. The galaxy had underestimated him once. He would ensure that it did not do so again. And somewhere far away, the billionaire woman watched, satisfied that the first part of her experiment had succeeded. Evan had proven himself capable of following the tip, interpreting the note, and navigating dangers that would have overwhelmed most humans. The next step would be even more challenging, but she had no doubt that he was ready. Evan's adventure was far from over. The tip had led him to opportunity, the note had guided him through danger, and the galaxy itself was beginning to notice the rise of a human who could think, adapt, and survive where others had failed. The stars stretched endlessly before him, full of promise, mystery, and challenge. And Evan, finally, felt that he was exactly where he was meant to be. Evan's ship glided silently through space, carrying him back to the planet where the billionaire woman's tip had led him. He could feel the weight of what he had discovered in the remote mine, and though he had collected only a portion of the resources, he knew there was far more to uncover. The planet's surface was dangerous, but it held secrets that could change the course of human influence in the galaxy. When he arrived, the twin suns of the alien world cast long shadows over the jagged terrain. The valley where the mine lay seemed even more mysterious than before. From orbit, he could see the faint glimmer of minerals embedded in the cliffs, and the soft hum of alien machinery echoed faintly through the sensors. He landed with care, the ship's landing pads gripping the rocky surface. Every detail mattered. Any mistake could alert the unseen watchers the note had warned about. Evan stepped out, taking in the landscape once more. The glowing plants and shimmering rocks made the valley seem alive, almost sentient. The previous exploration had taught him to move with patience, to watch and listen carefully. He followed the path to the cavern entrance, noticing subtle changes in the terrain that suggested someone, or something, had been there since his last visit. Small depressions in the soil, faint energy readings, and subtle shifts in the light all hinted that the mine was being monitored. He paused, crouching behind a large crystalline rock. His eyes scanned the shadows for movement. Nothing appeared. He exhaled slowly. Humans were often underestimated, but in situations like this, vigilance and intelligence were just as crucial as courage. The note had warned him to trust his instincts, and so far they had not failed him. Inside the mine, the machinery seemed more active than he remembered. Automated miners moved along predetermined paths, extracting the glowing minerals with precision. Evan watched carefully, studying the process. The technology was alien, yet elegant, designed to maximize efficiency with minimal oversight. He realized that understanding it would give him leverage beyond mere wealth. Knowledge was power, and humans were remarkably good at using knowledge creatively. He moved deeper into the mine, following a faint energy trail that the sensors highlighted. The path led him to a hidden chamber, partially concealed behind a wall of rock. The entrance was narrow, but as Evan squeezed through, he found himself in a vast hall, filled with machines and devices unlike anything he had ever seen. Crystalline structures hummed softly, and holographic displays floated in the air, showing data in alien scripts. Evan approached one of the consoles, touching it carefully. The holograms responded instantly, displaying information about energy extraction, mineral composition, and automated processes. He could feel his excitement growing. The tip from the billionaire woman had been accurate, but this was far beyond a simple resource mine. The technology here was advanced, capable of producing energy and materials in ways humans had never imagined. As he studied the devices, he noticed a small compartment embedded in the wall. It was subtle, almost invisible, but the sensors picked up a faint energy reading. Evan crouched and opened it, revealing a small crystal device. It pulsed gently, like it had a heartbeat. He picked it up carefully. Immediately, a holographic message appeared in front of him, showing the billionaire woman herself. Her image was crisp, almost lifelike, and her eyes seemed to look directly at him. "Evan," her voice said, calm and measured, "you have proven yourself capable of understanding and navigating the challenges I provided. Few humans would have reached this point. What you hold now is not merely wealth, it is knowledge. Knowledge that can change the galaxy's perception of your species." Aliens admired strength, power, and brute force, but humans excelled in creativity, problem-solving, and adaptability. The technology in this mine was designed to test these qualities. The crystal device he held was a key, allowing access to a larger network of hidden knowledge and resources, but only for those capable of thinking differently, capable of seeing patterns and possibilities that others overlooked. Evan realized the full weight of what he had discovered. The mine was more than a source of wealth. It was a repository of alien intelligence, a system designed to reward ingenuity. Humans, often dismissed as weak and insignificant, were now being given a chance to rise. Suddenly, the air shifted. Evan sensed movement behind him. He spun around and saw several figures entering the hall. They were tall, armored, and clearly alien, their helmets reflecting the light of the crystals. They moved with precision, scanning the room. Evan's pulse quickened, but he forced himself to remain calm. Panic would be dangerous. He remembered the note's warning. "Some are watching you." These must be the Watchers, sent to see if he could handle the mine's secrets. Evan assessed the situation quickly. The aliens did not seem immediately hostile, but their presence was a clear test. Using the crystals and his observations, Evan activated a device nearby. It emitted a soft pulse, creating a holographic projection that temporarily masked his position. The aliens paused, confused by the sudden distortion. Evan took the opportunity to move closer to the hidden crystal network, carefully noting the positions of the Watchers. Every action was deliberate, every step calculated. He could feel the thrill of the challenge in his veins. Humans had a unique advantage in situations like this: adaptability and creative thinking. Evan reached the network console, inserting the crystal device. A cascade of holographic data flowed before him, showing maps, energy sources, and complex patterns that described the operation of the mine and its connections to other hidden facilities. It was information no human had ever seen before. The potential applications were enormous, from energy production to advanced materials, and even strategic insights into alien behavior and commerce. The alien Watchers observed silently, clearly impressed by his understanding. Evan realized that the billionaire woman had orchestrated this entire test. She had chosen him because he had the qualities humans often displayed when underestimated: resourcefulness, ingenuity, and the ability to remain calm under pressure. As he continued to explore, Evan discovered a hidden compartment within the network. Inside was a series of holographic files, detailing the history of the mine, its creation, and the intentions of the alien species who built it. They had designed the system to identify beings capable of high-level problem-solving, regardless of species. Humans, with their creativity and adaptability, were uniquely suited to succeed where others might fail. Evan's mind raced. The knowledge he now possessed could elevate humanity's status in the galaxy. It could prove that humans were more than just survivors. They were innovators, thinkers, and strategists. But he also understood the responsibility that came with it. If this information fell into the wrong hands, it could lead to conflict, exploitation, or even war. He had to be careful. Hours passed as Evan absorbed the information. He documented everything, taking careful notes and copying data into portable devices. Each discovery reinforced his belief that humans were underestimated and that the galaxy was about to witness their true potential. Just as he finished, one of the alien watchers approached him. Evan braced himself, expecting hostility, but the figure simply extended a hand, holding a small device. It was a recognition token indicating that he had passed the test. The alien did not speak, but the gesture was clear. He was acknowledged as worthy. Evan felt a surge of relief and pride. The journey had been perilous, but he had succeeded. The tip, the note, and his own instincts had guided him to this moment. He realized that the true test was not the wealth or the resources. It was proving that humans could think, adapt, and rise above challenges that others deemed impossible. As he left the mine, the valley seemed to glow more brightly, as if acknowledging his achievement. The stars above shone with a new intensity, reflecting the potential he now carried. He knew that returning to the trading hub would not be the end. This was just the beginning. The knowledge and resources he had gathered could change not only his life but the perception of humans across the galaxy. Evan climbed back into his ship, carefully securing the data and the crystal device. The alien watchers remained in the mine, silent and still, but he could feel their attention. They had seen what humans were capable of when underestimated, and they would not forget. As the ship lifted from the valley, Evan allowed himself a moment of reflection. The billionaire woman's plan had worked perfectly. She had identified a human capable of navigating extraordinary challenges, and in doing so, had confirmed something she already suspected. Humans were unpredictable, resourceful, and capable of greatness beyond what other species realized. Evan set a course for the trading hub, his mind racing with possibilities. The journey had taught him more than he could have imagined. Humans had an edge, a unique set of qualities that could allow them to thrive even in the most dangerous and competitive environments. The galaxy had underestimated them for too long, and he now held proof of their potential. As he traveled through space, Evan could not help but feel a sense of purpose. The tip had been the spark, the note had been the guide, and his own instincts had led him through danger and discovery. Humanity had been underestimated, but now, armed with knowledge, courage, and ingenuity, Evan was ready to show the galaxy what humans could achieve. And somewhere far away, the billionaire woman observed, a faint smile playing on her lips. Evan had passed the test. The next phase of the challenge awaited, but she had no doubt that humans led by someone like him were capable of rising to meet it. Evan leaned back in his seat, eyes fixed on the stars ahead. The adventure was far from over. The galaxy was vast, full of challenges, wonders, and unknown threats. But he felt ready. Humans were clever, adaptable, and determined. And for the first time, he realized that they might just have an edge no one else expected. Evan's ship floated silently through space, carrying him back to the valley with the hidden mine. Even after the first successful expedition, he could not shake the feeling that this journey had only just begun. The knowledge he had gained, the technology he had seen, and the crystal device he carried were more than just tools. They were keys to understanding humanity's place in the galaxy. The stars outside his cockpit window shimmered as the ship moved through a nebula, the colored gases casting strange light over the consoles. Evan studied the holographic data once more. The information in the crystal device was vast, showing networks of mines, energy sources, and hidden technologies that had been carefully concealed by alien civilizations for centuries. Humans had long been dismissed as weak, unremarkable, and easily controlled. But the more he studied, the more he realized that this galaxy had underestimated them entirely. The billionaire woman's note echoed in his memory. Humans have an edge where others see none, Observe, adapt, and create. Your instincts are your greatest weapon. Evan now understood the meaning fully. The mine, the crystal, and the hidden data were not just rewards. They were a test to reveal what humans were capable of when underestimated. Evan decided to explore deeper into the alien network. The crystal device allowed him to interface with the mine systems remotely. He studied the processes, noting how materials were extracted, refined, and prepared for transport. But what fascinated him most was the adaptive nature of the technology. The machines could respond to new variables, solve problems automatically, and even modify their operation based on new patterns in the environment. Humans had evolved to think creatively and unpredictably. Now he realized that these traits could give them an edge over even the most advanced alien species. Hours passed as he analyzed and experimented with the crystal device. He discovered that it could not only provide information, but also allow him to manipulate certain aspects of the alien technology safely. By using human intuition and lateral thinking, Evan could achieve outcomes that the system itself had not anticipated. The realization thrilled him. Humans had been underestimated because their creativity was difficult to quantify. But here, in the hidden mine, it became a clear advantage. Suddenly, the sensors on his ship detected approaching ships. Alien vessels, sleek and armed, were moving toward the valley at high speed. Evan's pulse quickened. The watchers the note had warned about were no longer subtle. They were coming for him. He realized that possessing this knowledge made him a target. He had to act quickly. Evan activated the crystal device and used it to analyze the alien ship's energy signatures. They were part of a faction that sought control over advanced technologies and rare resources. Their goal was clear: to seize the mine and eliminate anyone who had discovered its secrets. Evan had only a small window to prepare. He initiated defensive protocols. The mine's automated systems responded to the crystal's commands, creating energy shields and deploying obstacles that could slow the alien ships. Evan relied on his instincts and ingenuity, improvising tactics that no alien had predicted. He knew that humans often succeeded where others failed because they could adapt quickly and think outside conventional patterns. As the alien ships closed in, Evan activated a series of holographic decoys. The projections mimicked his ship's signature, confusing the attackers and buying him precious time. Then he guided his vessel into a narrow canyon that the sensors indicated was safe but difficult to navigate. The alien ships hesitated, unable to maneuver as precisely. Evan felt a surge of confidence. Humans had a unique advantage here: creativity under pressure. Inside the canyon, Evan accessed the hidden vault using the crystal device. The entrance was well concealed, almost invisible without the specific coordinates. He guided the ship through the narrow passage, finally reaching the inner chamber. The space was filled with energy conduits, crystalline storage units, and holographic consoles that contained detailed information about resource locations, technological blueprints, and even strategic intelligence about alien factions. Evan took a moment to breathe. The scope of what he had discovered was staggering. This was not just a mine. It was a strategic hub, a repository of alien knowledge and technology. Whoever controlled it would have an enormous advantage in the galaxy. And humans, often dismissed as weak and insignificant, now had access to tools that could rival the most advanced civilizations. He began downloading data onto secure storage units, carefully selecting what he could carry without triggering alarms. Every movement was calculated. Evan understood that the slightest mistake could alert the alien attackers or damage the systems he relied on. Yet, despite the tension, he felt exhilarated. The challenge was exactly what humans thrived on: danger, complexity, and opportunity intertwined. As the downloads completed, Evan activated another part of the crystal device. A holographic map appeared, showing hidden pathways to other vaults across the galaxy. Each vault contained similar technology, rare materials, and intelligence designed to reward species capable of creative problem-solving. Evan's heart raced. The potential for humans was limitless. They had been underestimated for too long, but now, equipped with ingenuity, courage, and adaptability, they could rise in ways the galaxy had never imagined. The alien ships outside began to maneuver aggressively, probing for weaknesses. Evan stayed calm, analyzing the situation. He used the crystal device to manipulate energy flows in the mine, creating temporary diversions that misled the attackers. The ships responded incorrectly to the false readings, giving him the chance to plan his next move. Humans had long survived in hostile environments because they could think differently, adapt quickly, and improvise solutions. Now he realized that same ability could be leveraged to outsmart entire fleets. Minutes passed in tense silence, each one stretching like an eternity. Finally, Evan initiated the final stage of his plan. He used the mind's machinery to generate a controlled energy pulse, temporarily disabling the alien ship's sensors. The vessels faltered, giving him enough time to exit the canyon and escape into open space. His heart pounded, but he felt a surge of triumph. He had navigated danger, manipulated technology, and turned the odds in his favor. Humans were often underestimated, but here, under pressure, they had a clear advantage. As he set a course back to the trading hub, Evan reflected on the significance of what he had accomplished. The mine was more than a source of wealth. It was proof that humans could excel where others failed. The crystal device, the technology, and the intelligence he had gathered were not simply tools. They were evidence of a species capable of creativity, strategic thinking, and resilience. The galaxy had dismissed humanity for too long, but that perception was about to change. Evan's mind turned to the billionaire woman. She had orchestrated this entire scenario, carefully testing whether a human could rise to the challenge. She had known that humans could succeed where others might falter, but only by demonstrating courage, adaptability, and intelligence. Evan felt a mixture of gratitude and awe. The opportunity she had given him was more than chance. It was a chance to show the galaxy the true potential of his species. The trading hub came into view, a sprawling city of lights, ships, and alien architecture. As he approached the docking bay, he prepared to present his findings carefully. The knowledge he carried could alter the balance of power, elevate humans, and reveal that their perceived weakness was, in fact, a hidden strength. He felt the weight of responsibility, but also the thrill of possibility. Landing smoothly, Evan exited the ship, carrying the crystal device and storage units. The crowd around him seemed ordinary, but he knew the reality was extraordinary. Humanity had been underestimated, and now he held the tools to prove otherwise. Every step he took through the bustling streets reminded him that the galaxy was watching. Evan carefully analyzed his next moves. He could share this knowledge with trusted allies, gradually building a network of humans who could leverage the technology and intelligence he had uncovered. Or he could act alone, using ingenuity and strategy to navigate the complex politics of the galaxy. Either way, the advantage humans held was unprecedented. In his quarters, Evan activated the holographic map again, studying the network of vaults and energy sources. He realized that each location could be accessed and utilized if approached with creativity and caution. The aliens had designed these systems to reward those capable of lateral thinking and strategic insight, qualities that humans possessed in abundance. Hours turned into days as Evan formulated his plan. The data he had gathered was immense, but it was also fragile. He had to ensure it remained secure while he learned to understand and use it fully. The crystal device was the key, but it required careful handling and deep comprehension. Every decision mattered. Humans had a unique advantage: the ability to adapt, improvise, and think creatively in ways that no alien algorithm could anticipate. Evan realized that the journey ahead would not be easy. Rival factions would notice his activity, and he would face challenges unlike anything he had encountered before. Yet he felt confident. Humans had survived in hostile environments for centuries because they could innovate, collaborate, and persevere. The galaxy had dismissed them for too long, and now, armed with knowledge and strategy, they had the potential to rise. As night fell over the trading hub, Evan looked out at the stars. The journey had revealed more than wealth and resources. It had revealed the untapped potential of humanity. He had learned to trust his instincts, to think creatively, and to navigate danger with courage and intelligence. The alien technology had been a test, and humans had passed. Evan allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. The path ahead was full of uncertainty, but it was also full of opportunity. Humans had been underestimated for too long, but now, with knowledge, courage, and ingenuity, they could change the way the galaxy saw them. The billionaire woman had given him the tip, and the note had guided him through danger, but it was his own instincts, intelligence, and determination that had brought him this far. The adventure was far from over. Rival factions, hidden threats, and the vast expanse of the galaxy awaited. But Evan knew one truth clearly: humans had an edge that could not be ignored. Their creativity, adaptability, and resilience would allow them to thrive where others faltered. And for the first time, he felt the full weight of possibility. Evan smiled faintly, holding the crystal device in his hand. The galaxy had underestimated humanity, but no longer. The next step would be even more challenging, but he was ready. Armed with knowledge, courage, and the ability to think beyond the obvious, he knew that humans could not only survive, they could lead. And somewhere far away, the billionaire woman watched, satisfied that the next phase of her experiment was underway. Evan had proven that humans could rise to extraordinary challenges, and now it was time to see just how far they could go. The stars stretched endlessly before him, full of promise, danger, and opportunity. And Evan, human and resilient, was ready to meet it all. Evan returned to the trading hub, the city sprawling below him like a glittering network of lights and ships. The journey had changed him. The tip, the note, the hidden mine, and the crystal device had revealed something far greater than wealth. They had revealed humanity's potential. He now held knowledge and technology that could elevate humans from being overlooked and underestimated to being recognized as a force to reckon with in the galaxy. As he walked through the crowded streets, Evan could feel the eyes of others on him, some curious, some suspicious. Humans were few in this hub, often dismissed by aliens as simple, incapable, or weak. But Evan now carried proof that humans were clever, adaptable, and capable of thinking in ways no alien had anticipated. His mind raced with possibilities. How could he use this advantage without triggering conflict? How could he ensure that humanity's rise would be seen as a strength rather than a threat? Back in his quarters, Evan unpacked the crystal device and the storage units he had collected. The holographic maps glowed softly in the dim light, displaying networks of mines, hidden vaults, and advanced technologies scattered across uncharted worlds. He began to analyze the data carefully, noting which resources could be safely extracted, which technologies could be studied without triggering alarms, and which information could give humans strategic advantage. Evan realized that the true power of the discoveries was not in wealth alone, but in understanding. Humans had survived and thrived because of creativity and problem-solving skills that even advanced alien civilizations had failed to fully appreciate. The mine had been a test, a challenge set by the billionaire woman, and he had passed. Now, it was time to decide how to use what he had learned. Hours turned into days as Evan studied the alien systems, experimenting with the crystal device to safely interface with the hidden technologies. He discovered methods to harness energy more efficiently, refine rare materials with precision, and even predict the actions of other species based on behavioral patterns recorded in the vaults. Each discovery reinforced a single truth: humans had unique advantages that others could not match. They could adapt, improvise, and think in ways that no algorithm or machine could anticipate. News of unusual activity in the remote sectors of the galaxy began to spread. Alien factions, curious and wary, noticed disruptions in energy flows, rare materials disappearing, and unusual ship movements. Some suspected that a human was behind these anomalies, but few believed that a single human could navigate such advanced systems with intelligence and foresight. Evan smiled to himself. Underestimation had always been humanity's hidden advantage. He began to plan carefully. He would share some discoveries with trusted human allies, building a network capable of applying knowledge and technology strategically. He would do so quietly, ensuring that humans gained influence without provoking unnecessary hostility from alien factions. Every move was calculated. The galaxy might not recognize human potential immediately, but with careful action, the shift in perception would be undeniable. Evan also reflected on the billionaire woman's role. She had orchestrated this entire scenario, testing a human in ways few would have survived. Her tip had been precise, her note cryptic but invaluable, and the hidden mine a crucible of challenge and opportunity. Evan understood now that her interest in humans was not merely curiosity, it was recognition. She had studied them, understood their strengths, and created a system that would allow someone clever enough to demonstrate those strengths. He had been chosen because humans were capable of rising to extraordinary challenges when given the chance. One evening, while studying the data, Evan received a transmission. The holographic figure of the billionaire woman appeared, luminous and composed, her eyes reflecting subtle amusement and approval. "Evan," she said, her voice calm and deliberate, "you have demonstrated what I hoped. Humans, when underestimated, show ingenuity, adaptability, and courage in ways that surpass even my expectations. The knowledge you now hold is more than a tool. It is proof that humanity can achieve greatness. But your journey is not over. Your challenge is to guide humans wisely, to show that intelligence and creativity can elevate a species without causing chaos. You must act carefully, decisively, and boldly. Humans could rise, but only if their actions were guided by wisdom and foresight. Over the following weeks, Evan implemented his plan. He discreetly shared knowledge with trusted human traders and scientists, teaching them how to interpret alien technology, utilize rare materials, and analyze energy patterns. Each small victory reinforced the principle that humans, when underestimated, could accomplish feats that no one expected. Meanwhile, rival alien factions continued their investigations. They observed unusual activity, intercepted communications, and attempted to trace the source of anomalies in energy readings. Evan anticipated their moves, using creative strategies that relied on deception, agility, and unpredictability, the very traits humans excelled at. Each faction was momentarily confounded, unsure how a single human, or a network of humans, could manipulate complex systems so effectively. In the midst of these strategic maneuvers, Evan returned to the hidden mine once more. He accessed deeper vaults, using the crystal device to interface with systems that had remained untouched. Here, he discovered records detailing the history of the technology and the civilizations that created it. He learned that the mines had been designed as tests across generations and species to identify beings capable of innovation and foresight. The systems rewarded creativity, intelligence, and adaptability, all qualities that humans displayed naturally. Evan's understanding grew. Humans had been underestimated not because they were weak, but because their strengths were difficult to measure. Aliens valued power, force, and predictable logic, but humans excelled in unpredictability, collaboration, and lateral thinking. The mine and its technologies were the ultimate recognition of humanity's hidden potential. Word of subtle human influence began to spread. Humans were no longer dismissed entirely. Whispers circulated among alien traders and factions about a small but remarkable group of humans demonstrating extraordinary ingenuity. Evan observed quietly, ensuring that humans advanced strategically without revealing the full scope of their capabilities. Finally, the billionaire woman appeared to him again through a secure transmission. Her tone was gentle but firm. "You have proven that humans can rise when underestimated," she said. "Now, it is time to demonstrate that they can lead. What you do next will set the course for your species. They will follow your example, not blindly, but with the same creativity and courage that you have shown. Guide wisely, and the galaxy will finally recognize the true value of humanity." Humans, often dismissed, now had the tools, knowledge, and opportunity to rise above expectation. And he had proven that, when underestimated, they could achieve greatness. In the weeks that followed, Evan worked tirelessly. He helped humans understand the alien technologies, encouraged innovative solutions, and demonstrated that adaptability and strategic thinking were powerful tools. Slowly, the perception of humans began to change. Aliens who had once dismissed them as insignificant now regarded them with curiosity, respect, and cautious admiration. Evan also took care to protect the knowledge he had uncovered. He ensured that it would not be exploited recklessly, understanding that true leadership required not only intelligence but wisdom and restraint. Humans had potential, but the galaxy was still a dangerous place. He had to guide them carefully. As he looked out over the bustling trading hub, Evan felt a sense of pride. Humans were no longer merely survivors. They were innovators, strategists, and thinkers. The tip from the billionaire woman had been the spark, the note had been the guide, and the mine had been the proving ground. But it was human ingenuity and courage that had truly made the difference. Finally, Evan received one last private message from the billionaire woman. Her image appeared serene and knowing. "Evan," she said, "you have exceeded all expectations." Humanity now stands at the threshold of recognition, not as the weak, underestimated species they once were, but as a force capable of shaping the galaxy. Remember this: the greatest strength lies not in power alone, but in intelligence, creativity, and courage. Lead wisely, and humans will rise. He had proven that humans could survive, adapt, and thrive where others had failed. He had shown that they could be clever, resourceful, and courageous. The galaxy had underestimated them for too long, but now the tide was turning. As night fell over the trading hub, Evan looked up at the stars. The galaxy was vast, full of challenges, wonders, and unknown dangers, yet he felt ready. Humans had an edge that no one could ignore. Their creativity, adaptability, and courage made them capable of achievements no alien had imagined, and under his guidance they would rise. Evan smiled faintly, holding the crystal device in his hand. The journey had begun with a tip, a note, and a test, but it had ended with a revelation. Humanity was no longer underestimated. They had been seen, recognized, and tested, and they had emerged capable, resilient, and ready to claim their place among the stars. And somewhere far away, the billionaire woman watched once more, satisfied. Evan had proven that humans were not just survivors. They were innovators, leaders, and strategists. The galaxy would remember that humans, underestimated though they were, had risen to extraordinary heights when given the chance. Evan took a deep breath, feeling the hum of the city and the quiet energy of the universe around him. The adventure had changed him, but it had changed the world too. Humanity now had a chance, and he was ready to guide them. The stars stretched endlessly ahead, full of